All right, here we go. Welcome into the show. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report. Chase Senior here with you. Hope you all had a fantastic Sunday, and what a matchup we have coming up in the wild card round. It is official. Breaking news. The Niners will hit the road, head to Philadelphia, and play the Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field in the first round of the NFC playoffs. Really appreciate all of your support of the show, and I have you covered with phenomenal coverage all throughout the week. So don't forget to lock us in and hit that subscribe button. The NFC playoff picture is official. With the Niners losing last night at home, Week 18 to the Seattle Seahawks, the Seahawks set a record for the most wins in the regular season in franchise history. They win the NFC West. They get the number one seed and a first-round bye. They will await who comes to Seattle, Lumen Field, in the divisional round of the playoffs. And then it got wild and crazy on Sunday for really every other team in the NFC playoff picture. The Bears are the 2 seed. They will host the Green Bay Packers, NFC North rivalry. It's the third time that these two teams will play over the last month. Chicago lost to Detroit, another divisional rival, with the regular season finale as the Lions kicked a last-second field goal, but because the Philadelphia Eagles, with their backups, lost to Washington at home, the Bears, who own the tiebreaker over the Eagles, stayed in that 2 spot to play Green Bay. Philadelphia elected to not play their starters. I think that could come back to burn them. They could have had the 2 seed with a win over Washington and that Bears loss. The path to a Super Bowl in repeating for Philadelphia a lot harder because I think Green Bay goes into the postseason limping. No Tucker Kraft, no Micah Parsons, Jordan Love coming off a concussion, and I just don't think this Green Bay team is equipped to seriously contend for a Super Bowl. And I thought the matchup for the Eagles against the Packers more favorable than this matchup is against the Niners. So it'll be Bears, Packers, Eagles, Niners, and then the Rams, they were going back and forth with the Arizona Cardinals in the regular season finale. They end up pulling away. They win by 17 points. A Rams win automatically put them in that 5 spot. But we didn't know who the Rams were going to be playing. Would it be Carolina, who lost to the Buccaneers in a huge game on Saturday before that Niners-Seahawks game? Or was it going to be Tampa Bay? Tampa Bay won the game. They have an 8-9 record like Carolina. But because the Falcons beat the Saints today, Carolina had the better record against Atlanta. So that gives Carolina the NFC South crown, worst division in football. And we have a rematch of a game that the Rams lost on the road to Carolina a few weeks ago, in which the Rams were 10-point favorites. So the NFC playoff picture and the matchups for the wild card round, they are set in the NFC. Sunday Night Football, the AFC picture is not set because the winner of Steelers-Ravens will win the AFC North, and that will finalize the playoff picture on the AFC side. Before we talk about this game, I have a lot of thoughts on it. I've watched every single snap of the Eagles and Niners this year. Nobody's better equipped to talk about this game this week. I do want to pass this along here that we don't know what time this game is going to take place between the Niners and the Eagles. That will be determined after Sunday Night Football. I know some Niner fans are worried that this game could be on Saturday. I'd be very surprised. These are 2 major media markets. Both the Eagles and the Niners are massive ratings draws. Anytime the Eagles and Niners play, the TV ratings are enormous. These are 2 marketable brands, 2 of the more recognizable brands across the NFL, with 2 massive fan bases that stretch worldwide. And both the Eagles and the Niners have worldwide power, right? Everybody across the globe, considering the fact that the Eagles since 2000 have been one of the most successful organizations in the sport, know that Eagles logo. And then this Niners logo is iconic, and their brand is legendary because they ran the NFL in the 80s, part of the 90s, and that's when the NFL really started to become popular, which has led to generations of fans still rooting on the Niners. So San Francisco, Philadelphia, I would be shocked if this game was on Saturday. I think it's going to be in that late Sunday afternoon window because the NFL wants to seize the opportunity of this game being a massive ratings draw. As far as this matchup goes, It's going to be a tough matchup for San Francisco. The Niners go into the playoffs limping a little bit all year long. They've been dealing with all these injuries. And then on defense, we know what the situation is. There's a ceiling to how good this defense can be. That's what happens when you lose Nick Bosa and Fred Warner. And Fred Warner is fighting to come back, maybe for the divisional round. He's not going to be able to play in this game. The Niners also played on a short week in a physical game against Seattle, and they suffered some injuries in that game against the Seahawks. Brock Purdy had that stinger on his non-throwing shoulder. Trent Williams did not play. Ricky Pearsall did not play. And the Eagles, on the other hand, kind of got a first-round bye because they didn't play a bulk of their starters in the regular season finale. So Philadelphia is at home. It's a tough place to play. It's going to be cold. No inclement weather as of right now. And Philadelphia has their rest advantage because they're coming off that bye week. The other thing that concerns me in this game for San Francisco is their inability to stop the run. They could not stop the run against Seattle. The Seahawks ran it 39 times for 180 yards. And anytime the Niners have gone up against good running attacks, because they're not that stout along the defensive line, they've had bad linebacker play, and they're just flat out short-handed, they've been susceptible to giving up chunks of yardage to the opposition when they establish the run, but also they're just leaky in the ground game. Well, the Eagles' strength this year has not been the running game. In fact, it hasn't been as good as it was last year when they were the best, most electric running attack in the National Football League, which led to Saquon Barkley winning Offensive Player of the Year. But the Eagles' offensive line is going to get Lane Johnson back most likely. They are very physical along their offensive line. They have Saquon Barkley. They're going to try to get that ground game going to naturally open up the pass game. And I just worry about the Niners' ability to stop the run on defense, which then impacts the offense in a game like we saw on Saturday night, where the Seahawks run it at will. They keep moving the chains. They keep the Niners offense on the sideline. They dominated time of possession, 37 minutes to 22 minutes, and that Niners offense was unable to find a groove or a rhythm, and this is a rhythm-based offense for San Francisco. And they had, I think, 8 drives in the game. They only picked up a first down on 4 of them. I also don't really like the Niners linebacker play without Fred Warner. Well, Dallas Goedert this year was one of the best tight ends in football, and for a long time he has been. He had 11 touchdowns. That set a franchise record for the Eagles at that tight end spot. Who's going to cover Dallas Goedert? Who's going to cover Saquon Barkley coming out of the backfield? I don't like the safety play for San Francisco. I think Jair Brown and Malik Mustafa are pretty good against the run. They're not great in coverage. Well, the Eagles, they have Devontae Smith, over 1,000 yards. A.J. Brown, over 1,000 yards. They have Dallas Goedert to go down the seam and down the number. They have Saquon Barkley, who went over 1,000 yards. I know everybody likes to rip Jalen Hurts, but in 4 straight years, he's gone over 30 touchdowns. And so you pair all that up with the Eagles having the edge along the offensive line against the Niners' defensive line, which is why I wanted San Francisco to make a move or moves at the deadline to enhance the trenches on the defensive side of the ball. I think that matchup sides with Philadelphia. The other thing that really worries me is that we saw how the Niners fared on offense going up against one of the top defenses in football in the Seattle Seahawks. What are the Seattle Seahawks on defense? They are extremely well coached, led by Mike McDonald. So are the Eagles with Vic Fangio. The Seahawks are athletic, physical, long, up front. And they have a bunch of really good players on defense. What are the Eagles? The Eagles at all 3 levels have one of the best defenses in the National Football League. And the Eagles, along the defensive line in the trenches, can manhandle you. They can overwhelm you. They can take over the game. And they can really control the game and dominate it along the line of scrimmage at the point of attack. This Niners offensive line against Seattle, completely exposed. Brock Purdy was under pressure all game long, and he didn't have a shot. And then on top of that, you didn't have Trent Williams in the run game and pass game. You didn't have Ricky Pearsall to stretch the field vertically. Well, the Niners don't have a lot of talent at the wide receiver spot. The Eagles have 2 All-Pros at corner in Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. At linebacker with Jahad Campbell, Nakobe Dean, and Zach Blount, they're really good there. And their safety play, a little bit susceptible, but pretty damn good. So I just worry how this Niners offensive line is going to be able to hold up against Philadelphia's defensive line. Vic Fangio will also blitz a lot. And the Niners, they couldn't handle four-man rushes. They couldn't handle pressures. And when that happens, the offense was ineffective. 3 points against the Seahawks, under 200 yards of total offense. The Niners averaged just under 4 yards per pass. So this isn't a great matchup for San Francisco, considering how young they are and some of their weaknesses going up against some of the Eagles' strengths, especially at the point of attack here. Now, you know that the Niners are going to come into this game prepared. Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh, one of the best offensive play callers and defensive play callers in the game. And Robert Saleh going up against Kevin Patullo, who I don't think is going to be the Eagles OC next year. You kind of like what Robert Saleh could do. But personnel-wise, there's only so much that Saleh can do. And can his defense hold up throughout the course of 60 minutes going up against this Eagles team? Going to be hard. And if the offense isn't scoring 30-plus points to carry the Niners, I don't think this defense is good enough to hold up throughout 60 minutes. So we kind of knew that there was a cap to what the Niners could accomplish this year. There's no doubt that they could pull off the upset, but it's going to be really hard, which is why getting that number 1 seed was so critical. Now, I do want to get to our sponsor before we talk about this game, and I'll give you a full-blown preview tomorrow on the 49ers Report, and it's going to be about 30 minutes long, so you don't want to miss that. Let's get to our sponsor, though. Today's 49ers Report is brought to you by Prize Picks. Whether you're starting a new routine or making player picks for the first time, trying something new can be hard, but in life and on Prize Picks, it always feels good to be right. With high-pressure playoff matchups every weekend and elite hoops action almost every night, the action never stops. Prize Picks lets you take control. Prize Picks now has early payouts. New feature alert. If your player gets off to a hot start, you now have the option to cash out of those winnings before the game even finishes. Are you missing your fantasy team? Your league already over, but with Prize Picks, you don't have to wait until next year's draft to keep playing fantasy. Prize Picks lets you play fantasy football when the postseason is here every week, even in the playoffs. Pick your favorite players and win when they hit their projections every week. No draft required. 3-pick power play for some Sunday Night Football. This is how the game works. By the time that you're watching this, the game is already taking place. Derrick Henry, more than 89.5 rushing yards and more than a half rushing or receiving touchdown. And then Jaylen Warren, more than 48.5 rushing yards. That's how more or less works on Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use the code CLNS. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Another thing that really bothered me about the Niners' defensive performance last night against Seattle, how bad they were tackling. The Niners missed 18 tackles against Seattle. A.J. Brown can pick up yak. He's physical. Devontae Smith is slippery. Dallas Goedert, hard to bring down. Saquon Barkley, not washed at all. It's been the offensive line that's been a problem for the Eagles. And then Brock Purdy was just under siege all throughout the game. Brock Purdy was pressured at a historic rate. I'm trying to pull these numbers up on the fly. He was pressured on 12 of 32 of his dropbacks, 38%. Second highest pressure rate he's faced in a game this year. And Purdy, Kyle Shanahan, had no answers when under duress. And I know what the Eagles are going to try to do. Take away the ground game, eliminate Christian McCaffrey. They have linebackers and a corner in Cooper DeJean to try to defend George Kittle. But then what are the Niners going to do at wide receiver? Wide receiver is a position after this year that I think San Francisco needs to address. They need to get better at wide receiver. You can't count on Ricky Pearsall. He's always hurt. Juwan Jennings is a really good 3, but he's going to demand a lot of money for a wide receiver 3. You have Demarcus Robinson. You have Kendrick Bourne. They're solid players, but they're more like fourth options on a team. The Niners also need speed, and they don't have that on offense right now. Whereas the Eagles, they have physicality and they have speed. This Eagles defense, since week 7 or week 8, is giving up 14, 15 points per game. And oftentimes in the playoffs, the better defense wins the game as compared to the better offense, especially in an outdoor climate where it is going to be cold and it's harder to play offensive football when the weather is cold like that. So I'm really looking forward to this matchup. It's going to be a fun one from a talent perspective. It's going to be a fun one coaching-wise, X's and O's. It's going to be hard for San Francisco, but they admitted that last night, that their road has now gotten harder when they lost that game to Seattle, but they are up for the challenge. They will be prepared, and I think this game will be close. But I do think the Eagles can pull away late to win this game just because they're the more talented team. They have the rest advantage, and they're at home. But crazy things happen in the playoffs, and if this Eagles offense has a down game, which has been the case a lot this year, and their defense gives up some explosive plays, and the Niners offense can catch fire again, that's how San Francisco can pull off the upset. So who you got? SF for the Niners, PHI for the Eagles. Drop your predictions down below. I'll give you a preview tomorrow morning. I got you covered with great coverage all throughout the week. Watch party next weekend. Looking forward to it.